Hey guys, welcome to TV Movie Mistress, your one-stop shop for all things entertainment. After a small break, I am back, your hostess with the mostest, Mo. Happy fall, happy November. Before we jump into probably the first show in a while that I've decided to cover on a weekly basis, I know, shocker, weekly commitments. Let's see how it works out. But I watched Interview with the Vampire, the 2022 edition, and I was like, oh well, that's a weekly topic my heart must talk about. So I am here. The show period will be going up to patrons first and foremost on a weekly basis. So patrons are going to get the show first, and then it will come on the free feed. But I want to thank all my patrons. Like, genuinely and truly, you guys continue to be a big part of me taking the initiative to experiment. So I really do appreciate it. And honestly, at the end of the day, it just feels good. Like, I'm not a stripper, but I do appreciate money being thrown at me as if I was. So thank you, and thank you. Outside of that, you guys probably heard my whole I'm tired, I'm taking a break podcast recording. I'm still tired, but I'm less tired and I miss podcasting, so I'm back. Every time I take a break, I'm always like, oh, I'm never podcasting again. And then 2 weeks later, I'm like, I needed that break, but I'm also going to podcast again. So I am back. Hopefully with me being more relaxed, more quote unquote relaxed, you guys will be able to get a bit more variety. Life is still fucking busy as all balls gets out. I guess the plan is to be less busy and do the shit I enjoy, and that's something I would highly recommend to anyone and everyone. But before we jump into this week's recording, two things. Make sure if you suffer from anxiety and or depression, take your vitamin D and or iron, even if it hurts your stomach. Just space it out a week. It's helpful, especially the vitamin D, because the time change and all that bullshit. But that's number one. Number two, I would love, and I appreciate every single one of my patrons. So I'm just going to go ahead and read them all out because I don't do that often enough. And that's going to be Heather, Sarah, Keisha, Army Bed, Catherine, Lashonda, my always eat vegetable boo, Early, my contrarian, but I would never fight. I don't enjoy fighting with anyone more than I enjoy fighting with Early. Brandon, come on. Sarah, Samantha, Laura, Jenny, Shanna, and Sussy. Thank you all for continuing to support your girl. Hopefully the plan is to do more with the Q4 of 2022 going into 2023. You guys deserve better. I deserve better. I was listening to the hiatus podcast where it was like, oh my God, no one listens. Guys, we have broken 500,000 downloads. Just FYI. So I know I'm dramatic and I make it seem like I get 30 podcast downloads a week, a year, or whatever. But even if it was 1 million, I would still want more because that's just my personality. But we've broken 500,000 podcast downloads, and I don't say that. And thank you. Thank you and thank you. So all of that said, all of that. Let's jump into why we're here, and that is Season 1, Episode 1, Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire in Throes of Increasing Wonder. Directed by Alan Taylor, written for television by Roland Jones, and Ben Felipe as story editor. And oh my, the cast in this show, if I could fan my coochie. If I could fan my face. There you go. Whatever. We have Jacob Anderson, who plays Louis de Pointdulac, and we have Sam Reed as Lestat de Liancourt. And this show airs on AMC, and I don't have cable, so I'm not gonna have to pay for AMC. Luckily enough, I think there's like already 4 other episodes out, so amazing. But I will be watching this show as I podcast it. So if you have any feedback, any thoughts, any whatever, who's your fave? Lestat or Louis? Who's right? Who do you ship? Send it to TV Movie Mistress. I highly encourage that. But I'm not going to pretend to remember the book. I watched the movie with Tom Cruise. And oh my God, why can't I remember? I remember the baby. I remember the Kristen Stewart played the vampire kid. And you had for Louis, which now that you think about it, it was kind of ridiculous to have a white man play a man from New Orleans, but 1990s, eh? 1990s, eh? But when this show was announced, I wasn't like, oh, I can't wait till it was just like whatever. The last vampire show I probably super enjoyed was Vampire Diaries on CW with Stefan, Elena, and Damon. That was genuinely probably the last one. Twilight does not count. That's just an abomination to man. I read all the books. I watched the movies. It's still an abomination to man and woman. So, that's sort of my background with the vampire world. So we had, Christian Slater. I was like, who was Louis? Wow. 1994 is like another life. Like, is that stupid? Brad Pitt and Christian Slater? And we were supposed to get the gay from that? Man, we were treated just shabbily and stupidly with what we got because of a lack of diversity in Hollywood. Just terrible. And we're not even halfway there. We're not even 1/3 of the way there. But you know what, goddamn it? We finally got to the place where we have an amazing like, Jesus fucking Christ, why is he so sexy? Jacob Anderson. We're gonna have a problem with me like focusing because of him, but you guys may all know him from Game of Thrones. He played a soldier. God, I feel like I erased everything about that show from my memory. But Jacob Basil Anderson, British, sexy, broody, but also seems like a very like cool guy I could grab a Guinness with. But yeah, he played Grey Worm in Game of Thrones. He was in Doctor Who for a bit. I haven't watched Doctor Who since like, let's see, we're about to have the Black Doctor. We just had the Woman Doctor. I stopped watching with like Peter Cavill? Peter's his first name. I don't remember his last name. But I'm probably going to go back and watch and support my brother's brother, who will be the Black Doctor, who I'm super excited about that. But Jacob Anderson played Grey Worm, and that show just did him dirty because he's a talented man. But that show had terrible people writing for it. So that's his claim to fame. And then we also have Sam Reed. I do not know this white man. This white man, though, seems to be doing a great job. I will accept it. He has also been in, oh my God, I don't recognize the Astronaut's Wives Club. Stop it. Oh my God, I don't know what he's, Bloom, Standing Up for Sunny, Lambs of God in 2019, The Hunting, Waiting for the Barbarians, The Legend of Molly Johnson. I don't know what any of that is. That sounds like a lot of white shit that I did not watch. Me saying that does not mean it was good or bad. I just don't know what the fuck that was. Maybe just a lot of British shit. I don't know. He was in Belle from 2013. Jesus Christ. That's probably absurd. I don't know him, but I am enjoying him. He's a good pair to Jacob Anderson. And I'm loving what he brings. To round out the cast, we've got Eric Bogosian, who plays Daniel Malloy, who's sort of like he's the person giving the interview with the vampire, duh. So let's jump into my recap. Thoughts on episode 1 of Anne Rice's interview with the vampire. Now, first and foremost, 10 out of 10. We don't even have to wait for the ending for this. 10 out of 10. But as we jump into the episode, I loved the intro just being like terrible imitation, but I just love the straight to the point intro synth. Like it was just like, yeah, and then the show starts. No fluff. But the episode does open with an introduction to Daniel Malloy, played by Eric Bogosian, who has at this point received a letter from Louis de Point du Lac. I'm going to be so extra with his name. And as he has received this letter, we also see in the background current times. COVID! Oh my God, everyone is dying. I say that laughingly because that's how I deal with tragedies. I laugh. But it was horrible and still horrible because people are still dying from COVID. And please fucking get vaccinated. So we see him get this letter. So we kind of have a time period for when this is happening. We see him on the phone. And basically, it kind of sounds like he's talking to his doctor, but what we get from this intro is who he is. Famous journalist, not so famous, kind of on the last legs of his career. Not as great, not as respected, basically selling shit to make a living. When this letter from Dulac comes, and we see he's sick. But the letter's like, hey, Malloy, come through to Dubai, come through to the Emirates, come through to the Emirati. Let's finish what we started. And it invites him to meet Louis after a long time. And I love the intro because as we're sort of getting this exposition, as we're sort of getting this tale of what is transitioned since the last interview, we get Louis' face imposed onto the screen, and it's just Jacob Anderson, hot as fuck. And as his face emerges, juxtaposed against the background of Dubai, wealth, power, money, lights, all of it, technology, we see Louis' face. We see his eyes, and I sort of fucking God, it looked like a snake. It looked like a fucking snake. Just these green, gray, snake-like eyes, but amidst like an exhausted, weary face. It's like a face that's seen shit, a face that's tired, a face that wants to go home and clock the fuck out. Except he's an immortal being and he can't. And in just that one introduction of Daniel Malloy, reintroduction of Louis de Point du Lac, where he currently is, just that one scene is just so powerful an introduction. And obviously Malloy goes, like, what's he gonna do? He's a dying old man. Like, first class tickets, I presume, to Dubai. Okay, I'll get these tapes through. Come on, get out of here. We're like, what's he gonna say yes, no to? Get out of here. But this presents an opportunity for the show to reintroduce viewers to Daniel, Louis, and the background and the history of everything going on. It doesn't presume you watched the 1994 Interview with the Vampire. It doesn't presume you've read the book. It's just like, hey, you might have or you might have not, but this is what's been going on. And I love that about it. We find out Daniel Malloy has Parkinson's disease, and we see this sparring between him and Louis, because Daniel does that thing all old people do, which is they like to remind you they're old so they can win an argument, except you realize that like Louis is like 300 years older than him. And it's like, black don't crack. But aside from that, it's like he's older than you, Daniel. Shut the fuck up. But yeah, we get a reintroduction to who they are, where they're currently at, a verbal sparring match. We find out that even though it's the day, Louis is awake, and this highly technological room that he has in Dubai is his tomb, which allows him to interact with the world, which is new for vampires, because again, like the sun burns them, they die. That's kind of their kryptonite. It's like no go for them. But here he is in the daytime in this hotel room, and I guess like the windows and the lenses are like fancy and shit, so he won't die. But he does show Daniel and us, the viewer, that hey, the sun can still burn him. And I love how his skin kind of like, I love the graphics. It's like, it's not just like burning like fire. It's almost like if you watch Game of Thrones, it's almost like grayscale. Like his skin looked cementy and gray. And as soon as he removed it from the window, healed right back up. Daniel is not shocked. Daniel is shocked about a lot of things, but not the fact that he's a fucking vampire. But he is shocked that Louis has been nosy. He's like, why you know I got Parkinson? Why you all up in my business? I'm like, you're not the skin burning? Yeah, no. Okay, Daniel. But he is annoyed. I guess he doesn't like a black man in his business. They figure out through their verbal sparring sort of like what the rules are and what is needed and what Daniel can take. And like, I'm a crotchety old man. One-on-one. Leave. And Louis like, whatever, my guy. I was born like 300 years ago, but go for it. And from there, the story itself starts. And when I say the story, I mean the beginning of Lestat and Louise's story. And that is a flashback as we see Louise's final moments as a man, as a mortal. We see what his life once was. He is a black man in New Orleans. He's free. He's got money, and that's just from a history of very specific, small percentage of black freed people after the Civil War being able to maintain some modicum of wealth and power, recognition, honestly. And we see that through Louis. Now, while he has a family and he is sort of the man of the family and he does everything he can for the family, what he does for the family includes like prostitution and keeping a brothel and, I'm sure bootleg and just like illegal activities of the night. And then through meeting him and what he does on his daily basis, on his, 9 to 5, which might be 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., we also meet his brother Paul, who was touched in the head, but also very, very, very within, very religious. Paul is played by Stephen G. Norfleet. Apologies if I'm miscorrectly saying that, but he did a really good job as for episode 1, and we are able to very much so see the impact he had in who Louis is. Just Louis' entire family. Again, just one episode, you're able to see where the man comes from, and how the rest of his life is his family's his foundation. I don't know where the story is going, but I think you can definitely see where the influences in his life, in who he is as a person, come from. We find out that his sister, super cute, is getting married to a man. And his brother Paul, their brother Paul, is not happy about that at all because he's a different religious denomination. But again, it's like a lovely family. Even though it has its issues, it's still a lovely family. We see his life as he quote unquote says himself, a red-blooded son of the South, basically meaning he's a heterosexual normative Christian man. And he would never, be out here doing anything outside of those bounds and circles, even though he constantly does. We see the access him having money gives him in white spaces, which is basically literally an invitation into white spaces, and where he and us officially meet Lestat. Of course, Lestat already peeped them in the street and was like, I'm gonna eat that. But officially, they meet each other at a poker game for the rich, which is probably still how business is done today. And it's a very interesting meet cute because, again, like, Louis is a black man. He's the only black man in here that's not like a servant, that's not a slave, that's not owned, that's not a servant. Lestat tells Louis he's the reason he bought a townhouse. He was basically like, look, I was about to just hop, skip out of this funky ass town, but I saw you that night, boo. And I was like, we can make this work. He didn't say all of that. I'm interpreting for Lestat because that's what I figured. And he also, and this first meet cute is just interesting because, again, it's like, on the one hand, it's us seeing just the shitty behavior, the shitty attitude white men of power have like towards this black man. And there's a scene I actually forgot to mention, is the first night, or the night we see Louis going about his business. There is a man who is visiting a brothel owned by Louis. I'm not even sure what happened to this man's dick because I don't think I want to know. I don't know if she chopped it off, like if it got, I don't know, but there was blood everywhere. And this white man basically calls Louis a nigga, and Louis is like, I'm gonna need you to look at my face again. And he's like, oh, you're not that. You're point du lac. Like, he's the exception to the rule. One, fuck this man and every man like him in the history of time. But this scene, 1, was funny. 2, ridiculous. And 3, I wanted to punch him in his face. He's also at this poker game. He immobilized his senses. We sort of get a lot of, like, what's the word? I don't know what the word is. Like, when like a scene is happening, but like a voiceover, is that what it is? But like we hear Louis giving his version of things. But it's just chemistry sizzling. It's like me frying an over sunny side up egg in my cast iron pan, and it's sizzling, y'all. And this is where Lestat officially starts his seduction of Louis. I feel like I've missed something. Wait. Oh, there's no, that would be my last page, hopefully. Jesus Christ, I hope that's my last page. Okay, yeah. So, they're at this poker game. They're pokering. I was gonna mention the fat white man whose dick almost, I guess, got chopped off earlier, and he was like, him and another white dude was like, "Oh, see, I told you he was an indiscreet Negro, or he was a most discreet Negro. Did I not tell you?" And I just, okay, this is why I am how I am. That's all I'm gonna say. And through the sizzling, through the chemistry, and through the starting of the seduction of Louis, we hear Louis himself say, in one sense, it was like equal emasculation and admiration in equal measure. He wanted to murder the man being Lestat, but he also wanted to be the man, which I feel like is every man. If you're a man listening, the way I handle crushes are weird, because someone made a comment, I'm not sure I'm gonna get it right, but it was essentially how, like, even though, like, men fuck women, men like men, if that makes sense. I'm not gonna think about that too much right now, because that's like a whole conversation. But I wanted to mention that. So Lestat and Louis, after this meet cute, playing cards and just Louis not punching people, because you can't punch people. This is something brown people know. This is something black people know. If every time a white person has made a terrible comment to me in reference to chicken and waffles, if every time a white person made a comment to me like that, like I would be in fights once a week, and after a while I just gotta be like, I need this check and I'm going home. But white people do say a lot of dumb shit. It just is what it is. It's terrible. I wish they would fucking grow and move on as a society from it. But in 2022, yes, white men and white women do say a lot of dumb shit to black people and brown people, and we can't get angry at it every single time. I wish it was not a thing. But while they're playing cards, though, Lestat starts the first of many moments of just not consent. And I say that jokingly because he's a fucking vampire. Duh. It's something Louis is aware of, but I'm not sure if he's like, you should be scared if the dude you want to fuck's in your mind. And like, I mean that, like, if he's in your mind, literally. If he's in your mind because you're just imagining it, that's one thing. But if he's in your mind because he's in your mind, like, let's be worried, Louis. But he's also Lestat and sexy, so I understand. But yeah, they start hanging out, going to operas. His sister's like, hey, you've been hanging with that white European boy. And which is also the excuse as to why Louis is like not as racist as Americans, because he's European and French or some shit. Which, valid, but also hilarious. But his sister's like, hey, invite him over for dinner. And he does. And dinner is, as dinner is, messy. Especially with Paul, who's like, the birds just told me to ask you questions. And Lestat, who's like, well, the birds just told him to ask him questions. And it's just like, oh, poor Louis. Poor Louis. This is just like a terrible family dinner, but I think many of us have been here without said vampire. You don't even have to be a vampire for this to be a family dinner where, like, someone you're trying to fuck is at the dining table with your brother who's touched in the head. But one thing I did want to mention is Louis, when Lestat mentions, oh yeah, we've been hanging out, having fun. We even went to the opera, and Louis like, I went to the opera, but I don't want to say what was happening. It was like folks singing, because he's trying to hide that part of himself, that need for intellectualism, because the life he lives as a provider, as the man of the family for his family, does not allow him to be a black man in New Orleans who's like, I like fucking opera. It's just not a thing. And also that would probably be a vulnerability he's not willing to share with his family. That's also another thing. But then Paul. I mean, I feel like everyone in the family knows, like, maybe, well, not everyone. I think definitely his sister knows that Louis has certain proclivities that do not pertain to the heteronormative man. But, and maybe even Paul, honestly. Everyone but Mama, because Mama ain't going. Mama's like, I don't need to know. I don't need to know. But Paul asks. He asks about his connection with Christ. He's like, tell me, sir. Tell me about yourself. Because the birds told me to ask. So yeah, let me go ahead and play this clip because I just think it's fantastic.
Madame, the birds speak for him. I came to know Christ in a monastery. I wanted to be a priest, just like you. And under the guidance and discipline of the monks who lived there, I came to memorize both the Testaments, the writings of Assisi, Aquinas, Erasmus, all the saints and scholars. My father, a vulgar man, did not think much of this education, and so he and my brothers conspired to pull me out, lock me away, where between beatings, starvations, and the failure of Christ to intercede the beatings and starvations, I slowly forgot all about the Testaments, Assisi, Aquinas, Erasmus, all of it. And so, to answer your boring question, there is an ocean between Christ and myself. J'espère que cela satisfera. Poisson porté dans la gorge de votre esprit. Don't do that shit here.
Like goosebumps. I really enjoyed that scene because it was sort of like the midway point in the entire episode, and you had the culmination of family life, classism. Lestat really looking like a snake oil salesman, and Paul, not Paul. Oh yeah, Paul. Sort of asking the very straightforward questions, and Louis being who he is, still again aware. Again, to what level he's aware, I'm not sure, but very much so aware of something is different about Lestat. So they leave dinner, rightly so. They're like, we're just gonna go out now and talk about business. And this kind of proves that Lestat is not a fan of religion. And that's sort of something we'll see by the end of the episode again. So Louis and his family, they're living their best gilded life. After they go walking, Lestat offers Louis a flower, a lily. Obviously, the lily is the beautiful woman who works at the brothel house that Louis often visited in the past prior to Lestat. And what ensues is a threesome that is spectacular for everyone involved. Lily is sort of mind controlled to sleep after an amazing orgasm. And Lestat and Louis have sex. And it's a type of sex that is earth-shattering, toe-lifting, universe-expanding, all of the above. Like, the motherfucker levitated off the floor with his penis still in him. And I just don't know how you go back to normal sex after that. I genuinely don't know. But once it's over and once Louis leaves, he himself knows, okay, that was fun, but one thing I cannot be is an openly gay man with a white man in New Orleans at this period in time. You can see how he makes a decision to distance himself from Lestat, which is kind of smart. We then get the wedding of his sister to her now husband. It's a lovely wedding. You see the Black community, you see money, you see, again, this is not like the poor folks on the streets, right? This is a specific class of Black folks in town with legacy, with history, with more money than most other Black folks. The wedding is beautiful. It's fun. It invokes memories of their father. And as the sun comes up, Louis and Paul go up to the roof, have a lovely conversation. I thought it was a lovely conversation. Until Paul decides he's going to jump off the fucking roof to his death. Which, as the viewer, was a lot. Let alone for Louis to witness his younger brother, who he was supposed to protect, jump off the roof to his death. And my thought was like, oh, Lord, did Lestat have something to do with this? Like, that's in the back of my mind for the entirety. Oh my God, the sex scene is on my TV right now. And Jesus Christ, Jacob Anderson. Just delicious. Paul jumps off the roof to his death, and that was the last sunrise Louis ever says he sees again. He doesn't miss it, the sunrise. But we see the fallout of this death within his family. His mother blames him for Paul's death, basically saying Paul is in hell because of him. I'm not really sure what the alternative, because it's like the whole suicide thing, you're in hell, but like, so did you want like Louis to say he killed his brother so he would go to heaven and then Louis would go to jail? But that's sort of the I don't want to say insanity, but that's sort of the insanity of religion, and how, oh my God, their butts. I could bounce a penny off their butts. But that's sort of the insanity of religion. It puts people in these boxes and they feel they can't get out of it, and then it spills over to family and real life and daily living. But they're mourning, but city life keeps moving. Even though they're in mourning, Lestat is the fucking worst, because they're like going through fucking town, like celebrating, mourning his brother's death, and Lestat is like, "Oh my God, you haven't called me. Where you been, bitch?" And it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, Lestat, why are you like this? Why are you like such a fucking brat, yo? And Louise just like, what is wrong with you? But Lestat is just cocky and unrepentant. And Louis is unable to mourn his brother because of his bullshit. Because Lestat is basically calling him over and over and over again. And Louis is telling Daniel Malloy this story. He's telling us this story, and it's just fantastic. And it's like the past and the present, and Lestat feeding Louis his blood, and Louis taking his blood, and it's just like, shit. Ooh, this is messy. And the stress starts to wear on Louis. He goes to church. He's looking for absolution. He's looking to confess his sins. And then, like, as he's confessing his sins to his pastor, Lestat is like, I'm going to give you absolution. It's a different type of absolution. And you can kind of see, I feel like Louis assumes it's death, right? Everyone in town's been dying. His brother's dead. Lily's dead. He assumes the absolution. I might be wrong, but I would infer that he assumes the absolution Lestat brings is a final type of death. But what Lestat offers is actually immortality. An immortality of just fucking suffering for a man like Louis. And I do have one more clip I want to play. I just love this show. So again, as I'm looking for this, like, if you have thoughts on episode 1, please send it to tvmoviemistress@gmail.com. I will be putting up weekly posts in the Facebook group as well. So if you're not part of the Facebook group, please consider joining it. It's a fantastic safe space. Let me go ahead and play this clip. Okay, let me pause it. So now I know what but yeah. So Louis goes into this church to confess his sins, and Lestat just comes in there like a fucking brat and just like kills everyone, like kills these preachers, and he's just like, "Is this your God?" Because for Lestat, it's playing God, right? Like, if you think back to that earlier scene where he's just so fucking angry, and like he's like, "I too wanted to serve God, and then like my parents and family were douchebags and traumatized me, so forever as an immortal I should probably go to therapy," but I will probably just sort of like, it's almost like he decides to inflict the same kind of pain and judgment and terror that his family inflicted on him, but to others. So it's almost like taking back the control. He's out here playing God. He's out here like, all these people are dead, but you, Louis, I want you. Will you consent? Which is hilarious because he's done the opposite of asking for any type of consent. But at this moment, as he plays God, he's like, will you consent to me making you an immortal? Almost like, I want you to be, and again, how I take it, I want you to be willing to give yourself to me above that other guy whose house we stand in, whose church we stand in. And it's just, I don't know, it's fabulous and it's terrible. And that's the scene where Louis is like, go for it. I've lost everything. My mama hates me. My brother's dead. My sister's married and she'll be fine. But he's just in the pits of hell. Everything he's maintained to do as a man for the family, for his family, is nothing. It's moot. And you just got Lestat over here being like, look, I just killed these men of God. It means nothing. It's fleeting. It's nothing. Get over it. And Louis tries to get over it. But from what I've just played, it's almost, again, it feels like a pitch Lestat is giving to Louis to get him to his side. It just feels like it's like, see, your life wasn't shit all this time. I'm going to make it better. And then he mentions these drums. But the drums are his heartbeat and Lestat's heartbeat, which is hilarious because if you're a vampire, you're dead, you should not have heartbeat. So whether or not it's like the last vestiges of his heart, who knows? The last vestiges of his humanity, I don't know. But that's where the episode ends, and it goes back to Louise's face in the present time as a teardrop falls. Just one teardrop on the right face, I believe. Maybe it's left, I don't know. But one teardrop out one eye, but it's a teardrop of blood. And I was just like, he is fantastic. And I was just like, I'm covering this for the show. It's an amazing show. But yeah, Lestat is a fucking predator. I'm looking forward to this reinterpretation of Interview with a Vampire with men who are not afraid to touch other men. Fuck you, Brad Pitt. Not Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise. Is that close? Okay. But yeah, I love this first episode, and I hope you guys have enjoyed me recapping it. I hope if you have watched the show, you share your thoughts via email or through the Facebook group, and share your thoughts for episode 2. I will be covering this weekly, dropping the episodes on Tuesdays. So if you have any thoughts, feedback you want to share, are you Team Lestat or Team Louis? Send them to tvmoviemistress@gmail.com. Also, most importantly, please don't forget to leave a 5-star review on iTunes. And this show will be dropping to Patreons first and then on the free feed a couple of days later. So if you want the show in your inbox, first and foremost, become a Patreon, patreon.com/tvmoviemistress. And outside of that, guys, leave a 5-star review. That is the only way the algorithm knows I matter, is if you leave a 5-star review. If you're just listening and cackling and laughing and enjoying, but not telling anyone, not sharing, not leaving a 5-star review, how will people know I'm fabulous? That's all I'm saying. But yeah, that's it for this episode 1 of Anne Rice's interview with the vampire. And I love the title. I just fucking love the title. Like, it's a great title. It's a great title. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed listening to me talk about In Throes of Increasing Wonder. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye.